It's that biannual time of year again, New York Fashion Week. And as the pandemic continues, so does the fantasy and flair of the fashion world. Real-life showcases, worldwide obsession, and a glamorous ethos have finally returned to remind us that New York Fashion Week is back. And it's more than just a series of runway shows. New York Fashion Week has always been an iconic moment, a feeling. Kicking off the esteemed fashion month, it brings a certain warmth and excitement, like that of a new year, stepping off an aeroplane, a first day back to school. And after 3 virtual showcases, that feeling is back. Though some continued virtual showings, after an almost 2-year hiatus, most eagerly set for the runways. With NYC-required vaccinated models and stars descending upon first-row seats, Spring-Summer 22 has, at last, come and gone. Once again, using the Big Apple as its backdrop, New York Fashion Week has officially provided a touch of normalcy, and with it, the glitz and the glamour we'd been waiting for. Christian Siriano kicked off New York Fashion Week with a getaway of bold colours, signature cuts, and a taste of vintage Italy. The designer sought to provide an escape from pandemic life, with a coastal collection reminiscent of his grandmother's vacation in Positano in the 60s and 70s.
The whole collection is a little bit inspired by, I kind of went back, I think a lot of people did this, like nostalgia when we were all in the pandemic, and I think that was about like going back to old photos of my grandmother's. I don't know why, I just felt it, and I really felt like I wanted it to be a bit of an homage to her, and she's still alive, she's 101, and I don't know, so I just was feeling that.
Set in Midtown Manhattan's Gotham Hall, the collection was extravagant and sophisticated.
Yeah, it's kind of inspired by, my grandmother, and they had this Italian kind of heritage and growing up, and she wore this kind of apricot dress and old photos, and I was like, oh, I kind of want to do that and bring that into the collection, and, her in the 60s, in Positano vacationing, so that was the idea, but in a modern way.
Siriano was nothing short of a brilliant opening return to real-life runways. Colleen Estrada. A Fashion Week favourite was Colleen Estrada. With electric patterns, well-represented styles, and a setting sun over the greenery of Brooklyn Grange models, the collection has been highly talked about. Models and collaborators came out dancing, skipping, and walking with loved ones, in looks being described as chaotic energy. The collection is a reflection of lived experiences. With an air of depop couture and Y2K fashion, designer Hilary Taymor focused on reconnection with each other and our past selves. The collection incorporated baggy pants, layered ruffled dresses, and mismatched patterns reminiscent of a naughty skater girl. As per the show notes, Colleen Estrada wanted to make use of things you could find on the street, or a nugget of trash. The collection comes at the heart of reinvention, elevating Colleen Estrada's look and name. Luau designer Raul Lopez shifted gears with his beautiful Spring-Summer 22 collection. After taking 2 years off the fashion grid, Lopez came back flourishing. With hard-edged and asymmetrical tailoring, zippers, boxy jackets, trousers and pleated half kilts, the collection was sharp. The collection shows Lopez's recalibrated label. The collection is laid back yet sexy, flaunting androgynous looks and his Dominican heritage. And it looked effortless with oversized coats, crisp shirts tucked into comfy sweatpants, and silk satin ties. An oyster shell chandelier earrings, dripping with crystals and mother-of-pearl shades, were distinctive, alongside a tiny beige leather band across the chest. Prabal Garung combined class with vivid colours to create his signature Spring-Summer 22 looks. Working with classic silhouettes and bold patterns, Garung's timeless designs felt like a statement. The feminine and powerful looks paid respect to the designer's outlook that more women should be in positions of power. He used florals and gingham prints with a range of textures including stretch fabrics and loose, comfortable pieces to hug the models' bodies to reflect the vulnerability and power of women.
I wanted to re-examine the canonical ideas about nationality, gender, and race. Because I've always believed America is a woman. You know, she hasn't been treated beautifully all the time. So I really wanted to examine and question, like, what does it mean to be the most essential person in this country? What is femininity and what is feminine? What is American? Who gets to be one? And who gets to be all of it and none of it?
Altuzarra's message and vision for the season are clear and forward-thinking. Designer Joseph Altuzarra shared at the event that the entire narrative of my show is really about welcoming a new era and the idea of rebirth. The collection boasted loose structures and flexible fabrics for comfort and movement, and long, oversized blazers and tie-dye dresses mixed everyday clothing with elegance. Metallic colours, lace detailing, pleated skirts and notable necklines embrace the power in feminine sensuality and dressing with confidence. Altuzarra has always aimed to make women feel good and confident, and the Spring-Summer 22 collection promised the same. Cult favourite Kate has been bringing back elegance and sexiness into fashion for some time, and this was only intensified in their Spring-Summer 22 show. Set in a low-lit warehouse with concrete flooring and hanging vines, Kate effectively set the mood. With looks of quilted satin, mesh, leather and cotton, designer Kate Holston debuted illustrious New York and nightlife looks that we've been missing for some time. Sheer dresses, cream coats, Gigi Hadid and a series of pumps later, Kate generously reinvented a classic look and runway show that was unparalleled in the week. There's only one Tom Ford. From bright disco glam looks to music and vibe, Ford closed New York Fashion Week on a hymn of hope. To the sound of Fifth Dimension singing Let the Sun Shine In, Ford fused athleisure and sportswear with heels and glamour. The collection was very on brand despite the lack of black tie look, and the glitter makeup, neon colours and sequins broadcasted Ford's readiness for post-pandemic life and going out. I think that this is a hopeful collection and at a moment when we all need hope. We need that now more than ever, Tom Ford wrote in his show notes. Peter Do was the name on everyone's lips following his runway show.
There was a really beautiful handwritten note that Peter had left at the beginning of the show for the audience. And he mentions a lot about his family, his dad being a chef. He had moved to Philadelphia when he was 14. And he talks about the making of pho as a craft. And I think that is quite synonymous with the way that he runs his collection and the way that he approaches his work. And I think just reading the story, he goes into so much detail about the ingredients. It almost feels as if you're reading a recipe.
Do wrote him a letter. A good pho is reduced and edited to an essence. It is comforting and feels like home. Welcome to our home. Set in Greenpoint, Brooklyn, with the Manhattan skyline across the water, Do's debut was one of the most anticipated shows of Fashion Week. His minimalist style is made up of multi-piece suits, pleats, lapels, coats and embroidery. Do used this to incorporate traditional Vietnamese style and was inspired by his grandmother's church outfits.
The collection was really developed through a lens of my memories of Vietnam, where I grew up, of my grandma and my mom growing up wearing these traditional aoyai, which is the sort of like a tunic over pants. But I wanted to sort of this hazy lens of the strength of these women that came before us.
Peter Do also brought his whole team out for a bow, and there's little doubt that this is just the beginning for the designer. At just 25 years old, designer Sintra Martins debuted her label at New York Fashion Week, filled with chaotic looks. The show took place in a building called The Stranger in Hell's Kitchen in Midtown Manhattan. Set as a funhouse rave, the concrete foyer led to a fantasy world hidden behind orange velvet curtains. Carpeted with astroturf, the room was filled with lawn chairs, a waterfall, and an animatronic elephant, among other features you'd likely see falling down a Wonderland rabbit hole. And a DJ and disco ball set the party mood. The message is chaos, total chaos, the designer Sintra Martins said of her spring 2022 Saint Sintra collection. Dubbed as a garden on psychedelics, Sintra's show stood out with her floor-length gowns, feathers, jewel tones, transparent crystal rope cocktail dress, and paste colours. And the radical optimism that Martins was going for was well delivered. But beyond the runways, what makes Fashion Week the spectacle that it is the ethos of fashion-loving New Yorkers, draped with trends and inspiration. And a COVID-induced hiatus meant a grand return to New York's coveted street style. So another New York Fashion Week has come and gone again, pulling in the best and the brightest. And being nothing short of New York Fashion Week expectations, it's no wonder they call it the Big Apple. Subscribe to FIB's weekly breaking news report for your weekly dose of music, fashion, and pop culture news.